friends, welcome back to my kitchen. Today I'm going to be sharing my extremely simple no-knead einkorn bread recipe. If you've never heard of einkorn, a quick Google search will give you all the info you need, but it is an ancient wheat flour that hasn't been hybridized like our current wheat flour that is most common, and it tends to be more digestible for people, and it has less gluten. Definitely has a different flavor than regular wheat, and you really have to learn how to work with it because it does work differently than regular flour, but we really love it in this house. And I have adapted this recipe from, I looked at the name of the blog right before this so I would remember it, and it has completely left my brain. So I will put it up on the screen. I have adapted the recipe from that recipe, and the adaptations that I made makes a bigger loaf. And the reason that I did that mainly was because it just uses one whole 2-pound bag of flour. So I get my einkorn flour from Azure Standard. If you've never heard of that, it's kind of a bulk natural food ordering place, and you can get things at a much cheaper price, especially like organic food and more of the health food brands. And when you buy like in the higher quantities, you can get a really good discount. So I get full cases of the einkorn flour, and so that's why it's in this tiny little bag. If you go to the health food store and try to buy a bag like this, it's very, very expensive, but you can get it cheaper through Azure Standard. I'll put a link down below to that to see if they deliver to your area if you want to check it out. Before we get cooking, I want to thank Element for sponsoring our time in the kitchen today. Element has been a longtime sponsor of my channel, and I really appreciate how they are willing to sponsor all of my kitchen shenanigans. Element is an electrolyte drink that I use every single day. They have a science-backed ratio of electrolytes. They have 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium, and that just helps me feel hydrated throughout my day. But not only that, they have a ton of delicious flavors, fruity flavors, as well as chocolate flavors that you can enjoy in hot beverages, and it just makes taking electrolytes that much more enjoyable. And I find that means I'm way more likely to stay consistent with it. Element is offering all of my viewers a free sample pack with any order on their website. All you have to do to get the free sample pack is go to drinkelement.com/indigo. That's drinklmnt.com/indigo. Click that link, place your order for anything on the website, and they will automatically throw in this 8-stick sample pack at no charge. It's a great way to try out all the flavors, see which ones you like best, or you can share it with a friend if you want to give the gift of hydration. Thanks again to Element for sponsoring our time in the kitchen today. This recipe is extremely simple. There's only 5 ingredients. There's water, of course. There's einkorn flour. There is salt. There is yeast, and there is optional apple cider vinegar. It still works without the apple cider vinegar, but I do think the apple cider vinegar gives it a little bit of a softer texture, and it gives a little bit of that sour tang if you want more of a sourdough type flavor. I love using this dough mixer, super convenient, works really well for dough. And I am gonna be mixing up my dough in my Instant Pot liner, and that is because I am going to be proofing my bread dough in my Instant Pot on the yogurt setting. I usually set it at around 99 degrees, and that just causes the proofing time to have to be less. So depending on when you want to bake your bread, you can either do it in the Instant Pot at that 99-degree temperature, or you can just mix up the dough in a bowl, cover it, and let it sit on the counter. If your house is like 65 to 75 degrees, then you can leave it sit for 12 hours or even a little bit more. But right now it's 10:20 a.m. here, and I'm wanting to make this loaf of bread for dinner tonight. So it's not going to be a full 12 hours. So I am going to do it in my Instant Pot at that 99-degree temperature. So if it is summer and super hot in your house, you're going to want to go with the lower times. If I do it in the Instant Pot at 99 degrees, I'll usually, I can get away with 4 hours of proofing up to about 8 hours. If it's going to be more than 8 hours, I just leave it on my countertop, and then it's totally fine, 8 hours to maybe 16 hours. So like I said, I modified this recipe to work with a whole bag of einkorn flour, 2-pound bag. So it's really easy just to throw it all together without too much measuring. So I'm just pouring in my 2 pounds of einkorn flour. Then I'm going to put in 1 tablespoon of Redmond real salt. Of course, you can use any salt that you like. My favorite is always Redmond. Then I have Active Dry Yeast. This is also from Azure Standard. They have a lot of their own brand of things, and the yeast is fantastic and really great price. I do keep my yeast in my freezer just, to promote longevity. Just doing a half a teaspoon of yeast. It is amazing how little you can get away with when you have the longer proofing times. I'm just gonna give this a quick stir. I have 3.5 cups of water. You can play around with the amount of water and see what you like better. I've done it with 3.5 up to 4 cups, and it just gives a little bit different texture to the bread, but I like about 3.5 cups. And then I'm gonna pour in about 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. I don't usually measure. It doesn't matter too much. You just want a little. Now I'm just dumping the wet ingredients into the dry ingredients, and I'm gonna get it all mixed up. It is not gonna look like a regular bread dough. You would not be able to knead it if you tried. It is gonna be sloppy and very messy. And really that is all there is to mixing up the dough. I usually scrape down the sides a little bit just so it doesn't get crusty or dry on there. But it's ready to start proofing now. It is so incredibly simple and easy compared to kneaded bread recipes. I got my sides all scraped down, and I'm just putting this in my Instant Pot. And yes, we had an Instant Pot accident recently. It was very, very sad. Gonna close the lid, and you're just proofing. You're not doing any kind of pressure cooking, so you don't have to worry about if it's on sealing or venting or anything like that. So we're gonna go to yogurt and go to custom, and I already have it on 99. It's sitting on 40 hours because that's from my probiotic yogurt. I'm just gonna hit start, and then I'll come and work with it whenever I'm ready. It's not going to go a full 40 hours. This is the Dutch oven that I got specifically for making bread. I love that it's an oval shape, so you get nicer, more slices out of the loaf. And this is 4.5 quart. I did some batches in my big, I believe this is 6 quart Dutch oven, and it was just too big, so the loaves were just, very round and flat. And then I have a 3 quart round Dutch oven, and it was just too tall. And so this is just the perfect size, 4.5 quart oval. I'll put a link to this on Amazon if anyone wants to check it out. They had a whole bunch of different colors. It was really hard to pick colors, but I like this pale green. A few hours later, my dough has been fermenting for more than 4 hours, but less than 8 hours, and I'm ready to bake. So the first thing I'm going to do is preheat my oven to 500 degrees, and I'm going to go ahead and put my Dutch oven in the oven, and it is going to preheat along with the oven, and that takes about 30 minutes. And by the end of 30 minutes, my oven will be preheated to 500, and my Dutch oven will be preheated as well. So the dough is nice and bubbly, and it smells very yeasty, smells fermented. And I am going to pull the Dutch oven out of the oven. Saying oven so many times is weird. I'm going to pull it out of the oven, and then just pour the dough in. Again, this dough does not look like regular bread dough. You could not knead this with your hands if you tried. It's more like a muffin batter or something where you just pour it. It absolutely does not look like much at this point, but I'm popping the lid back on, and I am going to go ahead and turn the temperature down to 450, and then the timer, I'm going to set the timer for 40 minutes. And of course, pop this back into the oven. After the 40-minute timer, take the lid off of the Dutch oven and reset the timer for 20 minutes. After cooking for 20 minutes uncovered, the bread is done. Pull it out of the oven, and then you should be able to pop it out of the Dutch oven easily and set it on a cooling rack to cool completely. You can see the bread has a lot of really nice bubbles in it. The flavor is absolutely amazing. I love the flavor of the einkorn flour. It's very rustic. It's definitely nowhere near a Wonder Bread. It's great for dipping into soups. It's a little difficult with sandwiches because it is a little more dense and more rustic. The crust is really nice and crunchy, so it's perfect for dipping or perfect for just eating with some butter on it. We can get away with making sandwiches with it if I slice it really, really thin. But all in all, we just really love this bread, and it has become a staple in our house. And let me know if you guys try it. I'd love to hear what you think. Thanks for hanging out with me in the kitchen today, and I will see you again in the next video.